think we've got everything put back in place. I think we're good to roll. We had the ducts cleaned in the house today, and so I had to move everything away from the ducts so that people could come and vacuum easier. So I'm shuffling things back because there's a duct, air vent, just right up here, and then one behind the chair. And so I think we're all put together and we can do this thing. You ready, Princess? Let's do it. Hi, my name is Kay, and this is my Cave of Possibilities. I have yarny stuff knitting to the left of me, cross-stitch stuff over here to the right of me, and here I am, stuck in the middle with you. I've had a very busy 2 weeks. I stitched and stitched and stitched and stitched quite a lot. I don't know. Something just clicked in my brain and I've been stitching like it's my job when I come home from work. It'd be nice if it was, no, I was going to say it'd be nice if it was my job and I got paid for it, but no, never monetize your hobbies. That's just a recipe for disaster or burnout. You choose. You ready to talk cross-stitching? Yeah? Alright. So let's start with the things that I finished over the course of the week. The last time I talked to you, I was working on, let's see, Sweetly Saying, which was, uh-oh, you're gonna fall. Sorry, little cat doing things. The freebie for January. It's still January. Can you believe it? I can hardly believe it's still January. Anyway, this is the freebie from Primrose Cottage for January. And I forgot to go over there and get my backing board. Hang on. One of these days, grabbing the backing board will become automatic. Anyway, so last I talked to you, I was working on Sweetly Saying from Primrose Cottage. It is their freebie for January. And I stitched this 2/2 on a 32 count opal even weave of some sort. It was just hanging out in my stash and I grabbed a piece of it and here we are. I did not buy the kit, so I sort of a mix between the called for flosses and just what I had in stash. So the flosses that are called for that I did have are the Really Tealy, the light blue, and then Eve's Leaves, which are the greens. However, my Really Tealy, as you can see, is very, very bold compared to the version that they had at the shop that they did their stitching on. And so, to help with that boldness, I pulled out of my stash some Ribbon Red, which is the red, and then Carry Pink. So those are pretty strong, you know, red and pink. I don't know that pink is super strong, but I think it works out really nice. Balanced everything out. It's working really quite well. So that was the first thing that I finished. And then by then, I knew that Primrose Cottage was planning on releasing their Sip and Stitch box, and they had called for they had let us know that it was going to be a Valentine's theme, so I thought, well, I'll just grab something kind of smallish to stitch on, because I know I want to order the box, and then I'm going to want to stitch many of the things from the box, if past boxes have been true. And so I pulled out, let's see, Home Sweet Home, another Primrose Cottage pattern. This one was released last year with their January releases, and I just hadn't quite got around to doing it. And so here is mine. I bought the Valentine's Day Master Floss Pack, so I did these with all of the called for colors. And there are 2 colors of that teal, but my selections were pretty close to each other, so hard to say. It's fine. Anyway, I used this, I stitched it on a 32 count blush linen that I had hanging out in my stash. It was the second half of a fat eighth that I had that I stitched a different small on already. So I stitched that up, and sure enough, as I was stitching away, it was Sunday. I ordered the box, the Sip and Stitch box from Primrose Cottage, and just worked on this the rest of the week while I waited for it to arrive. And then it did arrive, and there will be spoilers, my friends. I'm going to show the contents of the box. And then I started on one of the things of the box next, but I'm going to show you the other things that I stitched. Little cat, I've got your fur over everything. Anyway, show you what else I've stitched. They released Love You Always. I bought this as a PDF pattern, and I usually don't buy PDFs, but it appeared that this was only released as a PDF. So here it is, and they used all the same flosses that were called for last year that I used on the Home Sweet Home, so it was easy just to pull those back out since I was still working on it. And I decided to stitch this one on a light purple. This is Orchid, 32 count. I'm stitching 2 over 2, 2 floss strands over 2 linen strands. And my friends, if you're talking about Aida, you need to specify if it's over 1 or 2 squares. When we're talking linens and even weaves, we should be talking over 1 or 2 strands of the fabric, because sometimes I read posts and it says I'm stitching 14 count 2 over 1, and you kind of have to make the assumption that that is on Aida. But sometimes it's super vague, and technically the nomenclature 2 over 1 or 1 over 1 really only applies to your even weaves and your linens. It should not be applied to the Aidas. Typically with the Aidas, it's understood that you are going over 1 square unless otherwise specified in the pattern. But with a lot of new folk coming into cross stitch, the terminology has spread, so we need to add a little more technical to the nomenclature, which, hi, welcome to my soapbox. Let's move on, shall we? This turned out super cute. They stitched their birds. One is red and one is pink. And I decided to stitch my little birds in blue. The light, well, it was the darker teal called for on the Home Sweet Home stitch. And that just turned out so darling. So darling. Really enjoyed it. Alright, so the next thing I stitched, because it was definitely the weekend and I was going crazy, is the February, we're going to fold it like this. I just have my photocopy for the my working copy. The February 12 monthly minis. You can kind of see it in pillow form way down there. So I got stitching on that. And this was a start and a finish all on Sunday afternoon. And I put it on this piece of, I think this is pomegranate. I found just a wee scrap of it hanging out in the scrap bin. And so I grabbed it. I have probably another chunk of it about this big, although it made me so mad because it was cut not straight with the grain of the fabric. It was cut on a diagonal, and on one side I ended up having to pull out, it was almost 1.5 inches on one side of the fabric and about 1 inch on the other side, pulling out one thread until I got with the grain. So I paid for like 6 by 12 inches of this fabric, and at the end I only had maybe 5 by 10 was usable. I was quite mad. Anyway, This turned out really cute. The reds that I was going to use matched the cloth or didn't stand out very well, so I turned them to purple. Because why not? And I think it turned out really quite well. It's cute, cute, cute. We'll have to turn it into a pillow or something one of these days. Probably not soon because I don't finish anything. And probably not soon because I gave Candace, who does most of my finishing, my pillow finishing, a bunch of like 12 nativity stitch bits to finish as stand-ups, and these are things that I stitched like back in 2012, and there's 12 of them, and so I just told her to spread them out, do a little bit every month, and please, I can't handle the bill for all 12 finished all at once. But anyway, so there's that. Before we get into the spoilers, there will be spoilers. The last thing I worked on and started is the freebie from last year. It says Be My Valentine. And I decided to use, let's scoot this over here, and this goes here, the same sparkly opalescent 32 count fabric for this. I'm using 2 floss strands over 2 linen threads. Is this linen? Yeah, this is a linen. It's not an even weave. And that is as far as I got on that little pattern on a Sunday afternoon. Oh, I'm missing something. I need to go over there and, well, there's several things I need to pick up, so maybe we'll do that in a minute. Maybe we'll do that right now. Alright, I think I've got it organized. Maybe. Sort of. So, I nearly forgot that I have been working on the colors of water. I finished off the last bits of black that need to come in here to this motif. And then I moved my hoop over and I put in all of the background on this block and started in on the background of this block, and I'm still working on the light green for that block. It's coming along pretty nicely. Once again, I am stitching this on its side, and this is meant to hang this way. I'm stitching it that way. So that is coming along really well. Miss Kitty, you are in the way. I need you to move. Let's see, let us show you. Here we go. So this is the colors of water. That is the designer. I cannot pronounce it. I am stitching this for Robin. It is on a 36 count even weave, so I'm just using 1 thread of floss over 2 strands of even weave. And eventually it'll look something like this. This is just a quick color copy of it. So I am working on, I'm right here, working on these 2. This block and this block, right there. So that's where I am in this project. Alright, let's put everything back away so it's kind of neat and tidy, and we have at least an easier time of it when it comes to put everything away. This project has been living in a pansy bag. This was, Pansy Posies? No. I forget what this one was called. It's a Henry Glass line. It's several years old. And my mom made me this bag. After I taught her how to make project bags, and then she made me that bag. Her sewing skills are far, far above mine. And then, let's see, I just grabbed the book. This is The Silent Night by Mill Hill, is the booklet. And see, I stitched all these little characters down here and to have those finished as stand-ups. Here's a couple of them on the back. As just simple stand-ups with maybe cording like they've done, or maybe some Ricky Rack, something like that. Anyway, I'm thinking about stitching the entire scene since I have a ton of beads left over. So there's that. Let's tuck that away so it doesn't roll off the scale. For all of my Valentine's stuff, I have been keeping it in this bag that Mom made. I made this bag. I made this bag, and while I was making this bag, this is the one that I was showing Mom the measurements that I do when I feel like making a bag. And you can tell the difference. Her corners are much better. Mine is puffier for whatever reason. Anyway, whatever. I'm keeping all my random Valentine's Day stuff in here as we go through it. Alright, let's put... I think I'm done with the board. We can put the board... No, I'm not done with the board. Board has to come over here. What are we going to do? So I've been getting quite a few ads from the Fat Corner shop, and they always lead with this image. And so I'd been resisting and resisting and resisting, and I thought, I don't know. So then I finally went and looked at what is all in the, this is a layer cake 10-inch square pack. And so look at all those cute little fabrics, little heart-shaped buttons, this and that. It's a Riley Blake, some of my favorites. And so I thought, well, if I buy the 10-inch squares, this is an awful lot of fabric that can be used to finish off many of my Valentine's stitches. And then I laughed quite a bit because this is the same line of fabrics that Primrose Cottage used for their Sip and Stitch. And now we're going to go, spoilers you guys, into the Sip and Stitch. I read on the card and it says quite clearly, don't share pictures on social media for about a week. It's been a week and a half. It will be a week and a half by the time I release it, the video. And you guys, I'm a small channel. Nobody's ever going to notice if I've released it, so shown pictures of it. So here we go. I'm going to do spoilers. You have been warned. Spoilers of the spoiling kind. Skip ahead a few. I don't know how to do timestamps, so we're not going to do that. But anyway, spoilers! So the first thing that I stitched out of the Sip and Stitch is called Strawberry Love. And I stitched it on the purple fabric, the same purple fabric that I used for the... It has a name. Oh, for Love You Always. And as I was finishing up the flowers, they called for either the dark pink or the light pink to be the center of the flowers. I did the pink as called for inside the white flower, but for the other flowers, I felt like they just needed a little pop of yellow. So I just ransacked my DMC, found something that worked really quite nicely, and popped that in. And I think just that touch of yellow really helps things out quite a bit. So there is the first pattern. This is the bonus pattern. And then the other two patterns from the box. This is Happy Valentine's Day. I think I'm going to stitch this one. Well, I'm not decided. There's this one. And then the other pattern is Toadstool Kisses. Those little frogs there. I'm not a super fan of the frogs or of mushrooms. I don't like to eat mushrooms, so I'm kind of iffy on the whole mushroom thing. But this one's a little cuter, so I might stitch this one next. I'm trying to decide what color fabric to stitch it on. But anyway, there's this cute pattern and this cute pattern. I think this one might be stitched on the opalescent fabric that I'm working on Be My Valentine on. So that's a plan there. Of course, not of course, but we got some super cute stickers, and now I can apply these to one of my water bottles. We got the floss pack. You can see where I've started to use some for Strawberry Love. Some of those. And here is the finishing fabric packet. So there's those big beautiful blooms. And then it's got the little pink gingham that you can kind of see there, and the heart-shaped buttons on kind of a coral color with some pom-pom trim and some Ricky Rack. Very nice. I like that a lot. We got a bunch of, let's see, floss drops in the stripes in in the shape of strawberries. Very nice. A gingham strawberry needle minder that I can use now that I've shown it to you. And this Strawberry Love bag tag that now I can use now that I've shown it to you. So I'm going to attach that to my bag. Oh, and then how could I not show you the mug? So the mug is super cute. This is a light pink. It looks like it's blowing out a little bit. So it's a nice light pink with little strawberry flowers on it and strawberries. I'm disappointed in mine because I'm going to set this over here. No, down here. I have tested and tested and tested, and I just keep drawing in quite a bit of air. And so the straw came out, and so I've pulled the straw out, tested it, and it is, this plastic bit is fine. There's no cracks in it. But I believe that the problem is somewhere up here in the joint because I filled a cup with water and then just plunk this portion of it, you can see right here, just that portion into the water, and it was drawing in air. So somewhere in this function of the spinny thing, it doesn't seal right, and I end up sipping in a lot of air, and so the straw mechanism just is not working for me, and that's really disappointing because this is so cute. I would haul this all over the place, except it doesn't work, so it's never going to get used, which is a bummer. But there you go. That's how that is. So overall, I really love the Stitch and Stitch, the Sip and Stitch. The Sip is super cute, but I just won't be able to use it. Okay, there is still a little bit more stuff to go. I saw somebody out there on the Flosstubes, and they showed off this little kit pattern from 1982. It's one of those from 250, guys. 1982, 250. This was a whole kit. It's one of those awesome ones where the pattern folds out, takes up the whole thing. It's in non-photo blue for those of you who are old enough to understand what non-photo blue is. Back in my day, in the old times, photocopiers wouldn't pick up a certain color of blue, and so you could use a blue pen to mark on documents, whatever, and then, you know, do a photocopy of it, and the blue would not pick up. Later, when I worked in the law firm, you did all your signature in blue, because if it was photocopied, it would be black, and so you'd know that the black signature was not the original, but blue signature was the original. That's an aside. We're all full of asides today. Anyway, I found the kit. I bought the kit. It's so cute, you guys. I'm so excited. It was, of course, everything was done up in like 3 different hanks. I have successfully separated all the hanks of thread. Really excited for that. And then I have just, I did replace the Aida. I wasn't going to stitch on super crunchy Aida. So this is a 32 count even weave. 2 strands of floss over 2 strands of even weave. And so I just have barely started it. So excited. So excited. So once I get over the Valentine's stitching obsession, which I don't know how long that's going to last, but I'm starting that for realsy. For reals, you guys, in March. That's what I'm going to be working on. And this is in a project bag made by Mom. Monday, we went up, we being Lisa and I, went up to Sandy, and we had a cute little stitch day with some of our friends. And Miss Stasha was the hostess, and she let me borrow the Mirabilia, what is this, Valentine's Day fairy, since Miss Valentine, since I'm completely obsessed with Valentine's Day right now. And so I went and looked up a couple of conversions, so I think I'll pull the DMC probably. It's going to be Thursday because I'm editing this tonight and then posting it tomorrow morning. Then Wednesday night, going back up to Murray for Crafty Stitchy night with some of my good buddies from high school. And then Thursday is knit day with the knit group. And so I think Thursday evening is really going to be my first opportunity to pull these, the DMCs. I looked them up in a DMC converter and probably lay them out and make some decisions, some judicial choices on what I'm going to stitch on to figure out those things, because some of the variegation in the called fors are really quite harsh, and I would like a smoother thing. Another thing I saw on Flosstube is somebody showed this wonderful chart of pansies. I know the picture is absolutely tiny. This is from 1967. This pattern is older than I am. It calls for anchor and a mix of anchor and DMC, and I think I'm probably going to have to sort of do my own conversion on it, because I mean 1967 was not yesterday, and we know that the colors have been pulled up and dropped and moved around and changed a little bit since then. So I'm fully aware that I'm going to have to do a minor conversion on it to get it to look nice. But I've started looking at some of the stuff and some of the ideas for it. Started to track my stuff, and so I think I'm going to probably end up doing it all in DMC, and I'll get out my floss card and choose the colors in the same families based on the floss card instead of kind of hopping all over the place. That is the plan so far. We'll see if I manage to execute it. And then, is this the last thing? This is the last thing. I joined the Color Wheel Club from Color and Cotton. It was purple. I've got two. This is the second. This is Nightshade in the soft. I'm kind of curious if, I don't remember because memory is not my thing, not my game, apparently. If, this is the soft if there was a bright selection too. But one new color a month is really quite nice. This is lovely. Nightshade. Maybe we'll do our Miss Valentine on a shade of purple. Change her wings to iridescent white. That sounds like a plan. It sounds like a good plan. That is everything. All of the stitches, all of the purchases, all of the randomness. It's nothing but random here. We are finally closing in on year-end close at work, so it will start to be quieter and quieter and far less stressful, and I'm looking forward to that. Last Friday I was closing in on finishing all my journal entries. I just posted the last journal entry, and then Central Accounting sent out an email that said, we're having problems, so we're going to postpone close for another week. So I've got another week, but I got all my stuff done, so I guess that's what it feels like to be ahead, and I'm never ahead. Is that everything, Kitty? Yeah? Alright. Hope you guys are doing okay. I really hope you guys are doing okay. One step forward, one step up. Love your neighbor. Hugs and stitches, everyone. Bye!